So guys, I'm going to be telling you about a fun story, how I missed my flight going to Ireland to see my cousins because I was a donut and I was a bit of a numpty. So yeah, so let's get into it. So let's talk about the reason why I missed my flight going to Ireland. So it was really early in the morning, so it was around 4 a.m. and me and my dad had to leave ridiculously early as our flight was, let's say, 11:30. So we got all our stuff sorted, there was no issues, we weren't running late, whatever. And then we got into my nan's car as my nan drops us to the airport. She always does because it's nice and easy for us and we can have a nice little doze before we get to the airport. And my nan was fine with that. So we got to the airport, no traffic, no nothing, and it was a blessing. It was really good. It was a good journey going there. And then we had to go through security control. What I can remember, I was like 9 at the time and I'm 19, so is that ages ago? But I remember it went smashing. It went calm. There was no problems. It was a nice chill thing. So then we went to the toilets. We both needed to go, and like on a tannoy. So they have it in retail stores where they say, "Can this person please go to the tills as we need help?" Similar to that, and they were saying, "Can these people please go to their flight as they are leaving, and if they don't come, then they miss their flight." And we were laughing at them, saying, "Oh, what idiots!" We were laughing at these people, saying, "What donuts, what numpties, what dickheads!" Like, just taking the piss, really. And then afterwards, it was nice and chill. We went and had breakfast in Nando's. So we went Gatwick, and there's a Nando's in there, and they do some really good food. Highly recommend. I don't know if they still do breakfast in Nando's, but I know they used to, and it's one of my childhood things. Having breakfast in Nando's with my dad going to Ireland. So yeah, but that's off topic. And then my dad looked at the timing when we had to go to our boarding, to get boarded to go on the plane. We saw, okay, cool, it's this time. Then we got to there, and this is where the fun starts. Got there, we showed the boarding passes, and then the woman who works there, so the one who says, "Yep, you can go on to your flight," yada yada yada, and she was like, "The flight's already gone," and I'm like, well, I was in my own world because I was young, so it wasn't really me. But my dad was like, "What? How is this possible? We've got the thing here. How?" And then she's like, "The flight's already gone." And we're just a bit confused, like, what? So what? How is the flight already gone? And then turns out my dad thought it was a later time than it actually was, so we missed the flight. So it was all my dad's fault technically. He was a bit of a silly donut that day, because we're always early. We were so early, even for the flight we should have got, but because he thought it was a later time than it actually was, we missed the flight, and we couldn't get on that flight because it's already been booked and it was just departing. So afterwards, we had to leave that boarding area. My dad had to phone my nan up, the nan I was speaking about, who dropped us to the airport, saying, "Turns out we missed our flight. I thought it was a later time." And then just getting all panicky. I didn't know what to do. My dad finished the call with my nan, telling him about the problem that we just faced. And my dad asked someone who worked in Gatwick, saying, "What should we do? We missed our flight because we thought it was a later flight than it actually is. What should we do?" And then they told us to speak to these workers who were on this desk to speak about problems with their flight or whatever. So we went over there and we told them the situation, and they said that through Aer Lingus, because we were going through Ryanair, and they said it was a flight through Aer Lingus from London Gatwick to Dublin. However, all the seats are practically full and it'd be too expensive and they won't allow us to go on it. It's there was nothing we could do, and I was really upset because I'm a kid and I really wanted to see my cousins, my uncle, because that's my childhood area to go on holiday. I loved it down there, and I did these puppy dog eyes, really upset, and the woman could feel my emotion, and she said, "Can you can you sprint to it?" And little me was like, "Yes, yes, 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 please, please." So my dad had to pay for 2 adult tickets instead of a child ticket because that was the only way we could get on the flight. So my dad had to pay so much more money because they weren't going to allow it to happen. And it's all because I got really upset. So we had to. So we paid. My dad paid the tickets for the flight, and then when the woman said we had to sprint, we sprinted so much. We had to go through like the control, like the security control again and all that, and we sprinted so much to get there. And we were there 20 minutes early, and we got onto the flight. So yeah, that's the story of how I missed my flight, but then I got onto another flight, just because I was really upset and I really wanted to go, and because I was a kid and she felt sorry for me, we managed to get onto this Aer Lingus flight. What was all good. But then after we got onto the plane, it was all nice and relaxing, whatever. Then guess what? We went on the wrong terminal, so we missed our coach in Ireland to get to Wexford, so that's down south. So this is like a 4 hour to 3 hour journey. So we missed that. So me and my dad was like, screw it, let's just go to a pub and just drink. Well, I'm a kid, I can't drink beer, but I had a Coke. My dad had some beer, and then we just was like, screw it, let's just relax. And yeah, that is the story of how I missed my flight going to Ireland. Like and subscribe, and we can do more story times. If we get, what's a good like goal? I say 10 likes because, 10 likes. If we get 10 likes, I'll do another story time. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Yeah, peace out. In a bit. Love you.